friends. Uncle Marv here with another episode of my Unhealthy Podcast, the show about life, where we try to fix things that are unhealthy and turn them into healthy so that we can live healthy and be happy. And if you are tuning into this episode, this is going to be part 2 of my interview with Hope Rose. And Hope is a transformative coach who basically helps people overcome tragedy in their own personal experience of loss and grief. And if you are here first and you did not hear part 1, you need to go back and listen to part 1. Basically, Hope gives us a lot of guidance to those navigating grief, loss, pain, tragedy, and emphasizes the integration of mind, body, and spirit. And that is why she's on our show today. Hope, I want to make sure that we talk about some of the other things in your life, because one of the things that you told me is that you were an ultra runner. And I didn't know what that was, and I doubt that many of my listeners know what that was. So let's first start with that. What is ultra running?
Thank you for having me back for part 2. I appreciate it. So I have spent a couple of decades in the ultra running space. I am working on a project right now that will put me back into it. So I like to say I'm on hiatus. And ultra running, the 4 classic ultra running distances are 50K, which is 31 miles, 50 miles, 100K, which is like 61 miles, and then 100 miles. Those are like the 4 classic ultra running distances. And they are typically on trails, like in the mountains, up and down elevation, animals, bears, bobcats, you name it. And they are run all at one time, which, for 50K, not too bad. For, 100 miles, 50 miles, that might be a little bit more of a stretch. And so I got into ultra running back in the late 2000s. My first ultra was in 2009, 2008, 2009. And I got into ultras and trails really because marathons are 26.2 miles. Road racing, and I've been racing for a number of years, was really beating me up. And I've always loved being in nature. And I had started running in high school to really deal with the childhood that I was growing up in, to kind of handle the abuse that I was enduring at that time. And so running has always been my outlet. I just love running, especially in nature.
Okay. So I get the running in high school. I get the running of a marathon. I don't get the idea of just taking that next step into, I'm going to go from 26.2 to 50.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wired differently. I just, I have always been in the health, fitness, fanatic.
Right.
Love, taking care of my body, and, I guess the appeal of it, 16 years ago. I don't know, it's been a while. I started training for I ran a 50K first, and, that was, 26 miles to 31 miles. It was just amazing to be out trails. You're pretty much by yourself. I don't wear headphones. And, I guess so this was March of 2009. I ran the 50K. I had been training to qualify for Boston Marathon, which is kind of very prestigious. You have to qualify to enter and all that stuff. And I qualified for Boston because of my trail running. And then 2 weeks later, somebody invited me to come join their team as a whole. We all individually ran 50 miles, but they needed another female on their team. And so I was like, sure, why not? I just ran a 50K. I just, qualified for Boston so I did 3 races in 4 weeks and ran my first 50 miler, and I was hooked. I loved it. And again, I'm kind of a unique individual. and my 30th birthday was going to be later that year. So yes, I'm giving my age away. And again, I always kind of celebrate things differently. I have honestly really never have I've probably had 5 drinks my entire life. Going to Vegas and partying for my 30th birthday was just, it's not how I celebrate. I always kind of celebrate giving back and doing something positive. And at the same time, 2008, 2009, social media was just kind of coming online, like Twitter. Now, obviously it's now X. But the other thing was that I was live tweeting, live updating as I was running these races. And so I was like, why don't I run my first 100 on my 30th birthday? What a great way to, celebrate it. And that's precisely what I did.
Now, that's a big jump. So my question is, how do you go about training? Because training for a regular marathon, down the streets and on the road, one thing. But to train for a 50K or 100K on trails is completely different, and they take longer, right?
Yes. Yeah. So for ultra training, you do train some miles, but you honestly train by time, like time on feet. Like you go out and you're on your feet for 6 hours, and then you increase it to 10 hours, like 6 to, whatever. Like it's just time on feet. And, I always say is I had a fitness base. Like I had always been, extremely active, lifting weights, yoga, swimming, road cycling, climbing mountains. It wasn't like I was, right off the couch going to 100-miler. So, I want to, let the listeners, know that. So I had a very good fitness base. And I also am pretty determined. So those two combined, I think, is why I, kind of had success in the ultra space. And I just really loved, just being outside. And I think the one thing for me is that running was kind of like the platform that really inspired others. Like it was really cool to use my running as then my current story to, lend others the motivation, the inspiration that they were like seeking. And it was more than just me running. It was like, oh, this is making a difference in the world. And so that was a really, amazing side effect of my running. And so it just wasn't like me running, but it was like, how can I use my running to benefit others? And so, as kind of the, years progressed, I, found different ways to make that happen.
Right. So you ran 100K on your 30th birthday.
100 miles.
Oh, 100 miles. To be honest, I don't know the difference. And
100K is 61 miles.
Part of me doesn't care. I'm
miles.
Never running it.
It took me 24 hours and 58 minutes.
Wow. How many have you run since?
I have run 3 more since. One, so I've run 400 milers. 2 did not finish. One was I got cut off. So all these races, like they have cutoff times. I got cut off at 24 hours at 80 miles. That was pretty heartbreaking. And then another one, I DNF'd at mile 50. Was having issues with my leg, and then I finished my 4th 100 I guess 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I haven't run 100 since, but I've run 14 50 milers.
All right. And
I won a 50 miler. I forget what year it was, but so that was pretty cool.
You won. So what do you get? Do you get a medal, a ribbon, and
yeah, claim to fame.
There you go.
It's a good. What don't people know about you? I won a 50 miler. Okay, tell me more.
Yeah. So that certainly, tells us about your endurance, your persistence, especially if you're doing it without headphones, because that's a lot of time to spend doing something and not have a little bit of distraction even, Interesting.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've run an ultra. Yeah, I really have not. I'm trying to think back.
That's okay. Don't worry.
Usually I don't train with headphones. I really like to kind of be present. I'm sure I've used headphones at some point, but like for training, like predominantly, it's me in nature.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. So, interesting fact that we learned there. Let's switch over to some other habits and something that a lot of us can actually wrap our head around. So I can't wrap my head around 60 miles or 100 miles, but you ended you didn't end, but one of your episodes towards the end of 2024 was basically tackling the top 25 habits to do for 2025. And they were pretty interesting because they were just very simple habits. Nothing outrageous, nothing monumental. Even when it comes to fitness, you encourage people to do one pull-up or one push-up a day added to your routine.
Right. Yeah. So that podcast was, I think it was like 25 ways, ideas to transform your life in 2025. And yes, if you listen to episode 1 of this podcast, you can have very deep transformation, and you can also have just everyday transformation. So I made this list to encourage people that you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to have a transformative experience. Some of you might want that. Some of you maybe are not ready for that. I certainly, encourage you to, do the inner work and all that stuff. There's so many different modalities these days. It's incredible. However, if you get overwhelmed, if the finances aren't there, this list, I think half of the 25 items are like free or like very low cost. And these are like healthy habits you can like implement, starting now, even though 2025, has already started. Like you can start today. Like I always remind people, like, your body doesn't know if it's January 1st or July 1st, So these ideas, these suggestions, that I've given people, and they can download it if they go to my website as well. And yeah, we can go through the list. But they're healthy habits that you can, implement, one of them or 5 of them. And again, it's an attainable way to start to bring transformation into your life.
Right.
And then you can branch out, deeper as you get going.
Yeah. So the push-ups and pull-ups was one that, kind of helped us transition from your running into something simple. But a couple of ones that you brought up were, reading from growth or for growth and the power of writing.
Yes. So in 2024, I guess it was the end of 2023, a person I follow on Instagram, somebody came to him like as a mentorship, and I think he asked him the question of like, what is something I can do? Like he was like a young kid, like teens. I can say that now because I'm in my 40s. He was a young kid. He was a young kid of like, how can I, grow myself to have like a business? And so this mentor told him like, read a book a week. And then he was like, wait a minute, have I ever read a book a week? Maybe I need to, take my own advice. And I was like, he's like, who wants to, join me? And so he threw that idea out there. And of course, if you've, now you've listened to, a podcast and a half, you kind of know I'm kind of goal driven. And I was like, yes, that sounds like a great goal. And to preface, I am not like, I wouldn't call myself a reader. A book really has to interest me. And so I just felt like, oh, great, I'm going to do this challenge. I want to do it. The other thing I did too, I forget if I put this in the PDF or not, but I wanted to do this challenge for a few reasons. A, for my personal growth, but also to show people that you can do this for free. You can go to the library and get free books. They have those little, free libraries, little libraries, at least here. I think they're global, but like out in front of like people's houses or whatever. There's books in there. Like you can like have personal growth for free. And so, yeah, in 2024, I read like 52 books, all personal growth. and, learned a lot in that process. But, it's a great way to grow your mindset, and they're all in the personal growth, spirituality, entrepreneurial, framework. So no, no horror books, no,
no rom-coms.
And so it's a challenge because it stretches you. It definitely stretched me of it's a book a week.
I was going to ask how many times were you worried that you would not finish a book a week?
In October, life got really busy and I was like, how am I going to finish these books? And so I kind of, developed different methods to, fast reading. The other thing too is every time I was tempted to be on my phone, I would pick up the book. And I think that, I just started carrying my book around of just pick up some pages, read 5 pages instead of, scrolling on Instagram. And so that's if you're looking to cut down on social media time, pick up a book and you can get some, personal growth, integration that way. And then your second thing is journaling, writing, journaling. I have I've always been a writer, since, a young girl. And if you listen to episode 1 of this podcast, after I was released from jail, I, picked up a notebook and a pen, and I have been writing every day since. In the beginning, I started with 3 pages in the morning. I have since kind of pivoted to 2 pages in the morning and a page at night. And I need to have this little stat in front of me because I can't, remember it, but I have filled in the last 2.5 years, I've filled 13 journals, over 100 hours of writing. And it's one of the best things you can do. There's so many great things you can do, but journaling, I go back and I kind of read of where I started, writing to where I'm at today. And I can see my writing change. It's more from a higher self perspective. And it's just and one of the things I have the kit available for sale on my website, but it's, I've developed my own writing method and am, sharing it with other people. And there's a whole kind of, very simple process to it. But the one thing that I will share with your listeners here is to write a page at night. I think a lot of people in the wellness space, they're building healthy habits and it's all about the morning routine. And nighttime gets very neglected. They did their workout in the morning, they ate healthy, they drank the water, they did their steps. And at night, it's just I'm going to, watch Netflix, watch TV, scroll on social media, and they haven't processed their day. And there is just and then they can't sleep and they have sleep issues and they're tired when they wake up in the morning. There's something magical about writing at least a page at night where you can just, this happened and you just write. There's no, you don't have to follow anything. You just write what's coming to you. And it's basically just kind of a brain dump. And you're writing to this, you can even picture you're writing to somebody of just oh, this day sucked. And, this happened and I was so busy and, this person cut me off, in traffic and I felt this and I can't wait for bed. You just are clearing your mind to prepare yourself to sleep. And when you do this consistently over time, there's just a profound peace that occurs with this practice.
Yeah. I was going to ask, because you had talked about splitting the writing, I was going to ask if you had both a morning and an evening routine. And obviously writing is a part of that, but, are there other parts to that routine, either morning or night, that are critical?
Yeah, I have a pretty routine morning, pretty routine evening. In the morning, it's writing. And I really had to say, I cannot wait to get up and write. It's my trusted best friend. I can write anything, and if I have, the time, sometimes I'll write 5 pages. I'll just write until I feel complete. If I'm, if I have a packed day, then I'll at least write 2. But just writing in the morning, it kind of, your dreams. If you can remember your dreams, just kind of write those out because a lot of, dreams have meaning for our lives. Write what you're, excited about for the day or whatever. Anyway, my routine in the morning is definitely writing. Then I do an at-home neurofeedback device. It's actually on the list. It's called Mendy. It's a headband basically. And I'm coming up on 500 days in a row of doing this 10 minutes every morning. So I do that. Those are my two consistent practices. And then I have a pull-up bar in like my bathroom doorway. I have the pull-up bar listed on the PDF as well. But this bar is amazing. It goes in between the doorway, not over it. And so it expands to really any doorway that you have. And so doing pull-ups, I dead hang. That's part of like my routine. I guess when I get down to and I start thinking about my, morning routine, I don't drink coffee by choice. There's a whole health reason behind that. So I make my own drink, and it's like adrenals. I'm very passionate about adrenal health. So it's just a drink that nourishes the adrenals. I oil pull. I scrape my tongue. So it's all these little things, like I'm actually like sitting here, like, what do I do? Oh, I do a lot. And then, some activity, whether it's Pilates, weightlifting, running, hiking, yoga, like some kind of movement in the morning as well. And then, definitely trying to, eat within an hour of waking up. Sometimes I get so busy kind of doing other things. That one's still kind of a work in progress for me. And also I try to make sure I get 30 grams of protein for breakfast. So those are a few of the things I do. I guess the other morning for the morning, at least the other morning routine, maybe not routine, but I choose not to have a TV, and I have a jigsaw puzzle out at all times. So I have like 1,000-piece or 2,000-piece puzzle, and I have to like, some people can't put down the bottle. I can't put down my puzzle pieces. So I allow myself to okay, just do one piece. I've done this. I'm looking over as we're talking, I'm looking over at my 1,000-piece puzzle. I have done this 1,000-piece puzzle almost in a month. Like, it's just so fun.
Nice.
And that is, even if you have an office, like an office, or just find some space at home to put out a puzzle. If you are feeling stressed in the middle of the day, overwhelmed, if things are crazy, like you're just ruminating, looping in your thoughts, go work on your puzzle. And it helps get you out of like whatever you're thinking. Maybe it's coloring, but really you want to change things up. And the other thing, so I call this healing stacking. There's this new term called wellness stacking. I'm calling it healing stacking, but you want to do things differently. And so here's another transformative tip. Do things differently with your non-dominant hand, and it changes your neurochemistry. It helps rewire your brain. So this is science-backed. And so I attempt to do my puzzles all left-handed, just as like I'm doing the puzzle and I'm doing it within my non-dominant hand. And it's rewiring my brain. So you get, you get to kill two birds with one stone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So part of that, as you were going through it, you mentioned that you don't drink coffee, you do your own drink. So what popped out at me when I was going through some of your stuff was the nutrition that you do. And you follow a guideline to try to live a non-toxic life. And that hit with me because part of what I'm doing, and I'm doing it very slowly, so don't judge me, but
no judgment.
I'm trying to go through this concept of clean eating, and then it'll hopefully morph into clean living as it, comes to other stuff. So trying to find foods that don't have the chemicals and the sugars and all of that stuff. So you had a lot of importance on organic, real food, and something I wanted to ask you about: drinking from glass.
So those are two subject points. So I'll hit the organic food first. and shopping. This could be a whole podcast in of itself, which I will say, this is kind of, we'll talk about this in the end, but I've developed a concept called Heal Thy, and it kind of breaks down a lot of these things into very tangible bites, no pun intended, for a person to kind of begin like this non-toxic living, nutrition, et cetera. So organic is the reason why organic is so important is that our bodies, our systems, including like the birds, including Mother Earth, we were not designed to breathe in, to digest synthetic chemicals such as glyphosate. And glyphosate is the main ingredient in Roundup. It's what they spray on all the lawns and, unfortunately, crops. And so that synthetic chemical is sprayed in, on foods, and it's linked to a variety of cancers. And our system, our body does not know how to process it because it's not from nature. And so organic farming, and I have a background in organic farming. And so I'm very passionate about regenerative organic farming, not just from a nutrition standpoint, but also from a farming soil standpoint of organic farming practices and principles. And if people want to lose weight, literally just change to organic food and your body will just naturally lose weight, because it's like our bodies were not designed to, ingest all of these synthetic non-organic chemicals in foods, and which includes alcohol. That's one of the reasons why I don't drink alcohol, is because it's filled, like people are literally drinking poison. It's very terrible for our health.
Okay.
And so, organic, I'm definitely, very adamant about organic food and just organic spices. I mean, like organic teas and just everything. Besides even nutrition, but organic clothes, cotton. So the top, there's a lot of facts I can give here, but the top 3 crops grown with the most pesticides, synthetic pesticides, are cotton, chocolate, and coffee. So if a person chooses to drink coffee, make sure it's mold free, make sure it's organic, because you're just drinking mold and, again, glyphosate. And why cotton is so important is like your skin is your largest organ and it's porous. And so you really, again, want to make sure your clothes are, organic cotton, because your skin is touching that fabric. Anyway, so that's nutrition. And then, drinking in glass. A lot of people are drinking out of plastic, which has BPA. And, BPA is in our water. It's in, so many our systems. And so again, it's just, a toxin in our body. And the more toxins our body has, the harder it is to function, the harder it is to lose weight, the harder it is to, sleep. So we can work on the energetics, which I'm very passionate about, but I also am very passionate about like changing the daily habits, because it's to like non-toxic choices as a collective consciousness. And when, more and more individuals are, realizing the importance of us. And, the variety of options we have in 2025 are amazing. Like you can find organic goldfish. Like there's, like you don't have to buy the Pepperidge Farms. Like there's organic goldfish. And so anything that, anything that you're like looking for, there's usually always an organic option, or at least a non-GMO. And I'll just make a distinction here. Like non-GMO does not mean organic. It just means that it doesn't have genetically modified organisms in there. But organic is automatically non-GMO. So little tidbit for the customers. But there's candy out there. Like one brand, since Easter is just kind of around the corner, like really be mindful of the candy you are consuming. Really read those labels. You can find things without food dyes. Food dyes are extremely toxic. Again, including, cancers and all of that. So you want to be nourishing your body with things that your body wants. Like one of the reasons, why cancer is so prevalent, in this day and age is that, every one of us has cancer cells. And when we consume products, when we slather products in terms of like body care products, whatever. We are either, feeding cancer or we're starving it. And there's a lot to do with cancer. I mean, it's a big topic, but those are two little things that you can do to mitigate your risk of cancer by being just extremely careful of the nutrition, what you're drinking, your body care products. They're all in there, but the list can be very long.
Yeah. All right. I want us to transition into Heal Thigh, but first I want to make sure that I let people know, of course, your website is in the show notes as well as your guest profile on the webpage on healthypodcast.com. But when people go to your website, they have the opportunity to get the PDF that you keep referring to, the 25 ways to transform your life in 2025. It is a free download. You do have to give your email, obviously, but other than that, it's free and it has all the things that we've talked about and more. So you'll get that when you get to the website. So let's now talk about Heal Thy. You referenced it a little bit earlier. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I've invested. A little caveat here. If you language is extremely important in kind of the transformative, space. And so I'm very I try to be very mindful of the words I use. And so what most people's like, I've spent, and when we have this spent, it's kind of like, the emptiness feeling, like there's no return on it. And so I just want to make that distinction for people. Like I've invested. When there's there's a return on it instead of just this vast emptiness. And so I've invested the last couple of decades into guiding people in their wellness path. And what I have noticed in working with many people is that in the beginning stages of a healthy journey, it can be very overwhelming. As we were just kind of talking of like, oh my gosh, there's food dyes and I need to change my, the cookware and the body products and my clothing and like my underwear and my sheets. And like, it's just, I need to, do 10,000 steps and I need to do a cold plunge at 3 a.m. for, half an hour and I need to meditate. It's just very overwhelming for people. And so I have developed this process, this method, I guess, over decades of pouring my time and resources and energy into this. And I have developed what's called Heal Thy. It's just a play on the word healthy. If you take the word healthy, it really spells heal thy, and heal thy mind, body, spirit. Because again, and I think this is one of the things that we're going to talk about is like, I view health, wellness, life as mind, body, spirit from a holistic point of view. We can't run 10 miles and then go eat Oreos, which is what a lot of people do. Oh, I worked out. I'm going to justify my calories. And anytime we justify any behavior, we know that we are misaligned in our daily actions. And so in the Heal Thy process, it is helping people, guiding people through one healthy habit a month, 30 days. And so let's take nutrition. And you would be surprised at what you can learn and integrate in 30 days of, this is day 1, this is day 2, day 10. And you just make small changes every day. And at the end of those 30 days, like your nutrition will be dramatically up leveled. And then you move on to month 2. And I have developed this method through a monthly subscription box. And it includes products for the theme of that month. So nutrition, it could be hydration, could be skincare. There's 12 foundational principles in the first 12 months of the program. It includes coaching. And then it also includes like a deck of cards that I've curated specifically for each month that guides the person on what they're supposed to do for that day. And on the back of each card is like a motivational, inspirational quote, just to kind of like keep people like on track and going. And so, yeah, it's kind of a really cool product, if I do say so myself, that it's tangible, and it's also, virtual online as well. And I've set it up as a mentorship as well. So like the online coaching is small, like no more than 10 people in a group. And part of the program is that you get to teach other people as well. And the more people that teach other people what they're learning, that's how we create faster change. And that's how we kind of collapse timelines and create change in rapid succession.
All right. So we talked about this, and we've talked about the mind. We've talked about the body. So let's round that off and talk about the spirit aspect.
Great. Yeah. So the spirit, spirituality is, all around us. And, how are we tending to our spirit through all of these practices, and how are we nourishing it? And it really is through our thoughts, through our beliefs, and looking at things from kind of a higher point of view. Spirituality, spirit, would also fall into the category of, victim consciousness. Is there woe is me attitude, or is there a growth mindset? And so that's kind of what spirituality is. And spirituality, again, it's not a destination. It is a journey. We are, continuing to learn. What I know today is not what I'll know in, 10 months from now. I'll know more. And so I think, really keeping a humble perspective, always to, learn and then share, don't keep it for yourself, and, have that, giving gratitude, perspective, that mindset. And that plays a lot, with spirit. And, again, spirituality is not necessarily a religious thing. It's really connecting with this, that divine intelligence. If anybody's familiar with Joe Dispenza or, people of that caliber, there's a divine intelligence that has us here. How can we tap into that to create a world of peace, a world of love, and less suffering, just less suffering. We don't need to intentionally cause others pain to lift ourselves up, to make us, feel better, whatever is going on psychology wise. So that would be my take on spirituality in this moment.
All right. I apologize for asking questions out of order, but I wanted to go back and ask you.
Yeah, you're good.
What got you interested in non-toxic living? That for some reason that didn't come up when we were chatting about that.
Yeah, all good. So I was blessed to grow up in an environment where we lived non-toxic. And so I have lived my whole life this way. I don't know another way to live. And so again, I have, decades of experience of, being very mindful of course, this is back in the, the 80s and the 90s. And there was, toxicity back then. It's definitely, increased over the years, and, our knowledge and awareness base, for sure, especially with the rise of, glyphosate and, these other, herbicides and fungicides, et cetera, in our atmosphere and environment. And so, yeah, I've lived the non-toxic life because I was born into that. And so just have kind of, continued my, education, just from learning from other people and learning, reading books and other sources, and just, seeing how, unhealthy our country is. I think it's 70% of Americans are on at least one prescription or more. There's just so many statistics I could, share on this show, but our country is in crisis on, on a mental health front, on the domestic violence front, on just basic health front. People want, injections and pills, and they're still unhappy. And so I know that part of what I'm here to offer humanity is that there's a non-toxic way to live. And non-toxic, not only just in products we choose, but also in our thoughts. And, if we could see, if there was words above our head, and, as we're walking down the street, I think people would be shocked at what people are thinking, what they're feeling. We are more digitally connected than ever before. But socially, we are more disconnected. Like the loneliness, I don't have this specific statistic right off the top of my head in this, but like we're more lonely than ever before. And so that loneliness, translates into, isolation and feelings, low self-worth and, depression and, just not good. The lower frequency emotions on the Hawkins scale, if people are familiar with Hawkins scale, it's just kind of this scale of the lower vibrations like shame, guilt, fear is very low versus on this Hawkins scale, like love, joy, gratitude is more higher. And so you kind of, the idea is to be in that higher frequency state, because that when you're in that higher frequency state, back to energetics again, episode 1, you will attract that. And so if you are, in that fear, shame, and again, shame is I am bad. Guilt is I did bad. And so if you're in those lower vibration frequencies, that's what you're going to attract into your life, just through like that thought. Like the universe doesn't, what's the quote? The universe doesn't respond to to what you want. It responds to the frequency you're putting out, something to that effect. And so that is part of like the transformative coaching of really like, how do we elevate your frequency to these higher things? And so non-toxic living is, again, it's mind, body, spirit, it's just as important what you put in your body, on your body, as what you think. And so, really guiding people to a place of inner peace. And when they have inner peace, their life changes, their home life and changes, their relationships improve, finances improve, and this is not like 100%, guarantee, but I would be willing to bet 100% guarantee. Like when you change your frequency, you change that channel on the radio. I guess we don't have channels on radios anymore. Maybe, tune it to a different, XM station. You're going to get a different outcome. And everybody, people want more money or, whatever, love or, whatever they're reaching for. And that starts with really doing the internal work first.
Yeah. So folks, the website, hoperosespeaks.com, the podcast, A Transformed Life. You can find that there on the website or in your favorite podcatcher. Holistic transformation and healing. Basically offering hope and support. And you heard all the stuff we chatted about there. Part 1, we talked about, support for those experiencing grief, loss, pain, or tragedy. And here today, we talked about putting some healthy habits in place and understanding the true meaning of mind, body, spirit. Hope, thank you.
You're welcome. And just a quick little introduction. The website for the Heal Thy Box is wehealthyself.com.
All right. I'll add that in there. wehealthyself.com.
Yeah. And I just want to, encourage, the listeners, begin a healthy habit today. Don't wait. It can be super simple. Can't do a push-up on the floor, do it on your knees. Okay. Can't do it on your knees. Do it against the wall. And I guess maybe the question I would ask is, how much longer are you willing to live with the excuses you're giving yourself?
And most habits are free. So,
most habits are free. Exactly. And download my PDF. Go to my website, give you a springboard. I would say almost half of them are free or very low cost. And I mean, I could have put 100 on there, to be honest. Next year will be 26. So I'll add one more to the list. But really ask yourself, am I willing to stay in my excuses, or am I willing to expand my capacity for growth and for the life that I desire to live?
All right. Thank you, Hope. And listeners, again, head over to the website and check her out. The transformative coaching experience that goes beyond the ordinary. So thank you, Hope Rose, for coming on. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And we'll be back with more of the Unhealthy Podcast, where our goal in life is to be healthy and happy or live healthy and be happy, whichever way you want to do it. Thanks a lot, folks. We'll see you soon. Holla.